BSMS third year student of ISET Trivandrum, and welcome to our channel, The Interview. So basically what we do is we interview people from various fields and to answer career related questions mostly for now. And today we will be interviewing one of our college's alumni. His name is Abdul Basit, and he's currently pursuing PhD from the Université Côte d'Azur in France. And he was a biology major and a chemistry minor, and he passed out in the year 2015 from ISET India. So the first question for you, so sir, how are the lifestyles over there different compared to that of India, like in aspects of education, ease of living, and disciplines?
Okay, so the lifestyle how it's different from India to to that of abroad, or like where I live, or in general?
Like to where do you live and also in general.
Okay, so I will start with the education first. So not only the higher education, I will give a glimpse into what here the education means. So in France, I do my PhD in France at Nice, the southern city of France. So here what I saw was like we do outreach programs often, and we go to high schools and give some ideas about what we do in science and like experiments and all. So the children that we see over there are like very naive, like they are like having various dreams, like one want to become a farmer, one want to become a hairdresser, one want to become a gardener or a pastry chef. Like their idea of education is not influenced by any others. Like they are free to their passions, and the education over here is like in broad, it's not affecting the childhood of a kid. So a child, he or she can live whatever way they need, and at the end of the life, and at the end of the day, they can choose what profession they want to choose. Like every profession is given equal importance over here, and they are also equally paid. So there are like professional courses for gardening, for pastry, for chef, and they are giving license, and it's like all government approved, and they have very good salary also. So what I'm coming to the point, what I'm making is that the education is not biased towards any few areas. Like we all know that in India we have a stigma, like when a child is born and like brought up, the parents will have an influence on the child's dreams. You should become a doctor, you should become an engineer. And at the basic levels, like at the basic schooling level itself, this child will have this in their mind, and they will forget what actually their passion was. So this is a great difference that I found when I came from India to abroad for in general in Europe or any other countries. I see.
Like no profession will be looked down upon.
Yeah.
And what about the ease of living and other?
Ease of living, as you know, over here, being a developed country, have all the plus points of a developed country. So ease of living is great. The living standard is great, and you have all the facilities available, even to do the science or in any other manner. You have all the facilities available. So ease of living is above. Yeah.
Okay, so coming to the second question then. So what are the challenges that you face while getting a PhD admission? And also like the education standards of the Indian premier institutes like IITs and ISERs and NITs and other prestigious institutes of India, are they up to the mark when compared to the world education level, and also the lab experiences? How are they like better, or how are they different in here?
Yeah. So maybe I will start with the second question and then come to the first question.
Yeah, sure.
So I would agree that I would have to agree that the ISERs and IITs, the premium institutes in India, are like very well organized, and the syllabus on the course structure are very well organized. And I should say that like they are world standard. Like nowhere, I think when I talk about the BSMS structure in ISER, and nowhere in the world have such a correct and like structured BSMS course or master's course where the student eventually do the research over the span of 1 year, and he will be like well known about the strategies or the lab etiquette. And this is not found in any other universities. In my knowledge, there is no such master's level course where they provide or 1 year of research, doing a master research, and eventually also the possibility to get published. And this is one of the plus point that I found as a alumni of IISER, that my research skill sets were like I could find place for improving my research skill sets, and this was a very good plus point that I found in the curriculum of IISERs and other premium institutes in India. And if you ask what are the problems that I face to get an admission to a university for PhD, generally I think this will be the problem of every student, that he will not be, because we are applying to a new university and we are not in priori, we don't know how to face these situations. So I think the only mantra to get a PhD position is to apply more and more, and like, yeah, that's the mantra that I found. Yeah.
Now coming to the third question. So, like, people say that getting into the research field is like a marathon race. So basically, it's a long-term investments like PhD, postdoc, and stuff. So, what are the settlement ways after getting out of IISER or a PhD, or like after spending a significant time in this field? What are the settlement ways you find?
So the opportunities of a PhD or IISER are plenty. As you know, that it's a broad area that you have in front of you. So most of the people characterize it as industry or academia, but there are a lot of other scopes available outside of these two. So I will give a brief idea about first the academia and then industry and what else you can find other than this. So beginning with academia, you have the postdoc. After PhD, you have the postdoc, and after IISER, you have the PhD. And after the postdoc, you have the faculty position and or the teaching undergraduate level teaching profession, and this comes under the category of academia. And if you want to go to industry, where they are interested in the skills that you have acquired during your master's or during your PhD project time. So you might have a specialized skill set in some of the areas. For me, my experiments are like mostly on imaging, microscopy. So this will be entertained in a place where the industry is more relied on microscopic analysis and all. So in this way, if you are doing a cell culture, so these are all biological area. So in chemistry, you have your own skill set, your own area. I do not know much about that, but yeah. So I'm talking about biology. So if you have a cell culture experiment background, you have more possibility in industries in that areas. And if you go outside the academia or outside the industry, you have a lot of other possibilities. So you can be a communicator between the science and the politicians, as a or the policy makers. You can be an interpreter how the science experiments is going or how this can be useful to the nation as a whole. So you have to communicate. There should be a person to communicate the scientific world to that of the to the policy makers who can eventually imply and promote these activities. So there is one possibility like that. In the similar aspect, there is a science communication field where or science journalist field where you can communicate the scientific findings to the public, and the public can get to know what the science is about and in a easier way. So this is another possibility. So science journalist can work in a media where they entertain people who know science and how to analyze the scientific findings and then interpret this data to a general public in a more easy way. And other than this, you can be in the public sector or in the government. So there are like a lot of examples, like the former Prime Minister of Belgium. He was a PhD in chemistry, and he was like praised a lot for his wonderful decisions during the Euro crisis that happened previously. So there is no a like there is no narrow the way in front of you is very broad, and it's not narrow, and you have a lot of possibilities. And also you can be an entrepreneur, you can start your own ideas and like build a company of your own. And yeah, so you can do whatever you want. And at the end of the day, what I suggest is like follow your passion, and like that makes happiness in your life. So if you like something, yes, go for it. That's it.
Okay. So the next question. So you had biology as your major and chemistry as your minor in NICER. So can you explain a bit about your current research works, ongoing research works?
So if I talk about that, there is no relation with what I did in my masters to that what I do now. So yeah, there is a bit because it's still in the biological field, but I do less chemistry. But in science, if you go higher and higher, it's all like interdisciplinary. You will not find a biological project as it is like completely biology. There's always elements of chemistry and physics and everything. So what I do now is like my project is focused on the mechanobiology, where we learn the physics in the biology. So if I give a brief introduction of my project, so I study the embryo development of the Drosophila fruit fly. So where I study the force distribution during the embryonic development. So how these forces are helping in tissue curling or expansion or convergent, and these kind of studies are accompanied with the physical theories as well. Yeah.
Okay. So the next question. How is the entrance test pattern for the foreign institutes, particularly yours, is different from India? Like, what kind of resume do they prefer? And it would be great if you could just share some details about your interview round. How did it go?
So for the application of PhD, there are like two broad categories. One, you can apply to a program. So the programs, the specialty of the programs are like they are more structured and they have well organized patterns and courseworks to do. And it will be like at the end of the day, you will be a good professional in the area that you focused. And it will be very interesting to take a program if you wish to continue your career in the science and become a faculty or to establish a lab. And the other category is like in-person contact to the faculties that you meet and talk to the lab members and like get to know in an independent way. So I applied to many programs, and few programs I also got selected for the interview. And also I would prefer more towards the independent way, where we can directly contact the lab supervisor and talk about your ideas and in general find what you can do in their lab and their study their overall lab works and all. And these connections during conferences and meetings are uh, a great opportunity for people who look for this category of admission. Because for me, I found my PI when he came to India. Actually, Isaac Randram, as part of his talk in NCBS, and he was at that time I was not planning to do or apply or to his lab, but I was having different other options available. So, but we have met each other and we have discussed each other and we have talked each other, and this connection is very important. And this could reinforce you if you have a plan to apply in a later point to somebody's lab. So this is what happened in my case. Like later I was interested when he published a position in his lab. I was like, I found the project interesting and I applied for it. In Priory, we have also contacted and we have a face-to-face interaction between. So this was very advantageous and we could communicate easily. And for me, the interview was more like, how do you more towards the translocation from India to abroad? How do you feel? Like more like an informal form of interview it was. But if you ask in the PhD programs, it will be like more structured. It will be more theoretical and more looking into the what you have done and what you can do, and it will be like basically looking into your knowledge of science. Yeah. So these are the two areas that I found. And in India,
Okay.
I think, yeah, you have to follow the exams like
Yeah, the CSI and NET and the
CSIR
GATE.
and NET. Yeah. But here I think it's more, if you don't, even if you don't have the CSIR or NET, you can apply to you can contact personally, and they are like more looking into your skill sets and your experience. Yeah.
All right. So also in most cases, the students in the BSMS field and the other research fields, so we don't have a clear picture of what we should proceed with after our masters. So what was your experience after you graduated from IISER-TBM? You were always determined to do a PhD, or did you take a lot?
So for me,
As well.
for me, until getting a PhD degree, it was like already determined when I joined the ISER. So I want this degree, like maybe not to continue as a career in science, but I want it somehow. I want the PhD degree in my name, and also I have the project that I should say that the projects that I have done during my masters really reinforced me to get a PhD, because before joining ISER, I was not known about the scientific practices or how the things going on in the scientific world. Like I think most of us doesn't know about the practices in a scientific lab. So this was a very huge transformation for me. Like when I joined ISER, I found that there is like possibilities of mingling with other lab members and to talk about science, what they do and what we do, and like this knowledge sharing was very key for the developing of a scientific mentality, and this was very helpful for me, and like I found this to further pursue to continue my career in science, and up to PhD I'm like now well determined for me. So for you have to ask yourself, if you want to continue a career in science, you have to be well organized. I mean, you have to have a really great passion for science, and otherwise you will be like, if you're looking for making some quick bucks out of science, I don't know, science may not be the real platform for that, like what we do in the business. But if you are really interested in science and you have crazy ideas in your mind to do in scientific experiments, and then you should take a PhD after your masters. Yeah.
Okay, so the next question. Describe in layman's terms why your research work in developmental biology is interesting in 2 minutes.
Okay. So the field of developmental biology is important because you might know that there are several developmental disorders that is caused due to the uh, defects in the genetic expression, or due to the mechanical problems during developmental morphogenesis. And for example, if you take the case of Sirenomelia or the mermaid syndrome, where during the developmental process called the gastrulation, where the different germ layers are formed, endoderm, ectoderm, and mesoderm. This process is very crucial, and if there is some defects in that time point, you will end up in like a deformed individual. And to study developmental biology is thus very important because the time during the development of an embryo is the one that is very important in your life. It's not the marriage, it's not the death or the birth of a human. It's really the developmental time period of an embryo that is very important for a human. Yeah.
Okay. So finally, coming to the last questions. So what is your message to the young aspirants who wish to have a career in research?
So this will again come to the point that I mentioned before. So if you want to pursue a career in research or in general in science, you should have a great passion for science. And this shouldn't be like you should do PhD after your master's because that's what everyone do. So it shouldn't be like that, but you should ask yourself whether you have the real passion for this. If you have these crazy ideas in your mind going on, what should be that, what will happen to this if you do this experiment, like you have a mentality of that kind, you should surely go for the PhD. And the people or and in general, science needs people like the one who asks crazy questions. And if you think that I will, after getting PhD, I will get a lot of scholarships and I will be like settled in life and like I will make a lot of money. And if you have such a mentality, I think you will have more opportunities other than PhD. And yeah, so you should ask at that point after your master's degree, you should ask, even before that, you should ask. And I think people who have gone through the ISA curriculum or the BSMS curriculum should have a real answer for this question, because they already know what is science, what people do in science, and how the practices are. So this is a really great advantage for people who come out of ISAs, and so they can really find out what they have to do in their next level. Yeah.
Okay. So we are done with the questions. That
Okay.
was great. Thank you.